It is certainly a weird time to be alive, and especially to be a Counter-Strike fan. If you guys have missed this, issue this morning, the ESIC, the Esports Integrity Coalition, keyword integrity, because apparently CSGO players and coaches and teams really struggling with integrity, especially throughout this online year of 2020, have now issued a statement and will not be issuing punishments, particularly some top-tier teams and players and coaches out there who actually broke the rules of stream sniping during some events. In case you guys missed all of this, ESIC as well is under investigation for several teams. Of course, the match fixing investigation should be released sometime in the near future, and that will impact some CSGO pros and CSGO pros who join the Valorant scene. And then this one, a stream sniping case, as several of teams who we have talked about, MIBR being one in particular, they are not the only ones guilty or seemingly guilty based off accusations out there. And of course, to note in this report, there are other top tier teams who would have been impacted. And to give you guys a TLDR before I read you these statements, pretty much ESIC has come out and said this was such a widespread issue, it would so greatly impact CSGO as a whole, and especially the tier 1 scene, they are not going to be issuing punishments for the past, but now, going forward, have a zero tolerance policy for stream sniping. Yeah, you guys can probably understand why plenty of people, especially on Twitter, were upset with this ruling. As the ESIC did tweet out saying, "We reinforce prohibition on stream sniping in CSGO with its notification of a zero tolerance policy. ESIC has received and assessed compelling evidence depicting that this behavior has been taking place on an alarmingly regular basis and at all levels of competition." Further stating in their overview, through the period of May to June 2020, ESIC received numerous allegations of coaches and teams engaging in stream sniping behavior, having the broadcast stream visible during the progress of a match, usually on a second monitor, sometimes called ghosting, during online competitions. Since the initial notification of this issue to ESIC, ESIC has received and assessed compelling evidence depicting that this behavior has been taking place on an alarmingly regular basis and at all levels of competition. They then go on to clearly state how stream sniping is breaking the rules and is considered cheating, and further measures to be taken during these online competitions to actually prevent this going forward. And a final, most important statement about, the overall assessment overview of the investigations conducted by ESIC, the reasons for our recommendations, and investigation outcomes. As they clarify, ESIC received a significant number of allegations of ghosting against teams, players, and coaches from across the CSGO ecosystem. If all were credible, it indicated a widespread practice of rule breaching across the online competitive CSGO scene. Initial investigations in dealing with teams did indicate that, although far from universal, the practice was widespread in online matches. To be consistent and fair to previous players sanctioned for this offense and the precedent we set in previous decisions, ESIC and some of our member tournament organizers were faced with the very real prospect of the banning of a significant number of players, coaches, and in a few cases, entire teams. This would have had an extremely adverse effect on CSGO esports, particularly in the top tier. So if anything I'm taking away from this, it's almost, dare I say, a bit embarrassing that there were so many players and teams and coaches potentially guilty. As they did say, some of this evidence was pretty compelling against several of these accused teams and lineups. It's almost embarrassing that all of a sudden online CSGO becomes a thing throughout 2020, and we still have teams, despite the coach bug scandal, despite the match fixing scandal, we have players and teams and coaches who are willing to try and get an advantage in whatever way, shape, or possible. And it's pretty shocking. It's pretty saddening that if they actually were to issue punishments, the tier 1 CSGO scene would be so greatly impacted where they don't want to go ahead and do that. Now, I really will say I agree with one response out there of many of you guys have seen on Twitter, that I would still love to know which teams were accused and which teams potentially were going to be found guilty but not issued punishments. At the very least, going forward, it will be a zero tolerance policy. We already have MIBR coach and manager Kogu already coming out and responding about the issue, of which MIBR has been, accused in the past. So it's good to have a response out there. This is it's a questionable choice, right? And certainly ESIC has their reasonings for making this kind of statement. And I feel for them on that, because properly explaining the situation and properly explaining their response, I'll admit it, at first glance, this seems like a very, very weird choice to pretty much have several accused members out there and players and coaches to get away with what you now call cheating, and then to say, hey, going forward, we'll now have a zero tolerance policy. it's tough to watch. I am sure they have their reasons, and I would not want to see CSGO greatly impacted in a negative way because of this, but it's also seemingly very unfair for people and previous offenders who have been caught doing this kind of thing and have been given punishments. That's a tough spot for CSGO to be in. I mean, seriously, can we just be a bit better? Who would have thought in a single year we have all these allegations and accusations come to light, ESIC involved in many of them, stream sniping, a coach spectating bug, all unraveling this year, and set to come sometime soon is the match fixing scandal, which likely will incriminate what we expect to be a handful or a couple of handfuls of pro players as well. Man, oh man, you know, it's just, I don't really know what to say on this one, guys. I'm just kind of disappointed, if anything. What do you guys think? It's next time. You guys know what to do, all right? I never show you the water, okay? I refill the same bottle for months and months. It's probably not good to reuse it all the time. But hey, here's the WA. You drink the Ka. I'll catch you back here sometime soon. Take care.